So I'm going to explain the time that I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome and how it's been so far. So I am 16 years old. I will be 17 soon. And when I was 14 years old, I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome. I was diagnosed in around May or June, and it was really sudden and really weird for me because I had never thought about anything about my ovaries. I never thought I would ever have a problem. So when this all popped up, it was really weird. So I was in 8th grade at the time, and I was the team captain of my volleyball team, and I did everything to do my best for my team, and I would never miss a game because I always wanted to be in the game. I never wanted to miss it. I didn't want to let down my teammates. So this night, we went to an away game. It was about a half an hour away from my house. And I wasn't feeling so well during the game. At first, I was having very weird stomach pains, but I didn't think into it. I thought it was just because I wasn't feeling good. Maybe I was having a little bit of the stomach bug, but I was going to get through this game and I was going to win. I was not going to quit on this game. I wasn't going to sit out. So I was playing, and I remember this awful, awful pain right in the middle of my stomach. So I was playing, and I was serving at the time, and I remember I got so many serves, and I was in so much pain, but I kept going because I really wanted the points so we could win. So I was breathing really heavily because I was trying to ignore the pain so I could just get through the game, we could win, and then I can go home and sleep it off. So we finally finished the game, and I don't remember if we won or lost, but I think we won. And after I went out to dinner, it was Chinese food, it was great. We went out to dinner with my parents and my family. My parents and my friend. So while we were at dinner, my pain went away, so I didn't think a lot of it. And then I came home and I went to bed, and I remember I was curled up in a ball with this excruciating pain in my stomach, and I did not want to wake my mom up because I was scared that she would get mad at me for waking her up. So I slept through the night, and I woke up and the pain was still there, and it was horrible. And I told my mom about it, and she brought me to the doctor's office, and they checked me out, and they said, you might have a problem with your ovaries, and you might have a problem with your appendix. We don't know yet. We're going to send you to go get an ultrasound. And me, being 14 years old, not knowing anything about any of this stuff, I thought ultrasounds only had to do with pregnancies. So I was really nervous that something was going wrong, that I needed an ultrasound. So I got there, and I was doing my ultrasound, and it was in this one hospital that wasn't the best at ultrasounds. At least the person that I had wasn't the best. And she was looking at my ovaries. And the problem with me is I have a tilted uterus as well. So a normal person's ovaries are right here. There's one on each side, on your left and on your right. But mine is tilted, so mine is more like this. So my left ovary sits in the middle of my stomach. Not in my stomach, in the middle of where my uterus should be. And my right ovary is all the way over here. So they thought my right ovary was here, and they thought I had no left ovary because they didn't look over here. So they told me I had no left ovary and that I had a 7-centimeter cyst on my right ovary. So, of course, I was so nervous. We were freaking out. The woman scared my mother and I to make it seem like it was this huge deal, that I could barely move, that I had to go on bed rest. I couldn't hold my books at school. I had to be careful. I couldn't walk too fast. I couldn't run. I couldn't jump. And I was really terrified. This was horrible. So after a couple of days, the doctor sent us to another place to get another ultrasound. And they figured out that I do have a left ovary, and it was the one that had the cyst on it, and my right ovary was just really to the side. And what happened, that I was in so much pain, is that they believed that my ovary entirely twisted, and then but it went back. So they calmed us down. They said it's not that big of a deal. It's just going to pass, and you just have to deal with the pain. You could take Advil and Tylenol, and you'll be fine. And that is normally just a one-time thing that happens. So after that passed, I was fine. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think it was a big deal. And then I got another one. But this time it was all of my ovarian cysts have been on my left ovary. I had another one, and I was in excruciating pain again. And my mother took me this time to a gynecologist, and they checked it out. And they told me the same thing, that it's just something that happens sometimes, and to take Advil and Tylenol and wait for it to pass. But I continuously started having more. They were tiny, though. They weren't as big as the first one. They were very small. They were only like 3 centimeters. So we didn't think a lot of it. And we went to a whole new gynecologist, and they told us, because you've had so many, if you get one more, we're going to think about you going on birth control to stop this. And at the time, it was a pediatric gynecologist, because I am still in pediatrics. I'm 16 and I was 14 at the time. So they did not want to put me on birth control. I did not want to be on birth control myself. And my mother didn't want me on birth control, because we didn't have a good picture of it, like what it could do. We only thought of it as something used to prevent pregnancy. We didn't think about the hormones that are in it or anything like that. So yet again, I had another ovarian cyst in school, and I remember I wasn't in that much pain, but I said I was, so I got to leave school. And I went to the hospital, and they checked it out, and I had a 6-centimeter cyst, and it wasn't that painful, so I was fine. I had a 6-centimeter cyst, and we went to the doctor, and they gave us a bunch of information on birth control, and they put me on my first birth control, which is ZubiaLive. So I was taking ZubiaLive, and I had problems with it. I would get my period when I wasn't supposed to, and I would break through bleed, and I had a bunch of problems, and they told me that the dosage wasn't high enough. There wasn't enough hormones in it to control what was going on. So they gave me a higher dosage of it, and I've been on it for about 2 years now, and I haven't had any problems. Then after, we couldn't go to that gynecologist anymore, so we went to another one. This one wasn't a pediatric one, and she told me that the ovarian cysts that I was having were hemorrhagic, which means that they were filled with blood, which is way worse than a regular ovarian cyst. Because if mine were to pop, I would start internally bleeding. And if it were to twist, I could lose my whole ovary. So they were like, it's very good that you are on it. And since then, I haven't had that many problems. That was the only thing that was wrong with me that we figured out. I never had any facial hair. But I do remember before all of this happened, I wasn't a very emotional person. I wasn't a very emotional girl. So we never really, we just thought I was a tomboy. There was no problem with it. And on my periods, though, before I got my period and I had PMS, I would get really emotional and I would get really depressed because my hormones would fluctuate a lot. So we started adding 2 and 2 together and realizing that it was because of this hormone problem. But I never had any of the other symptoms besides the hormone problem and the ovarian cyst. And since then, I've been pretty good. I've never had an ovarian cyst in my right ovary, which I think for myself it's because that I don't ovulate on my right side. Because that was the problem, is I would ovulate and the egg would continue to grow into this cyst. So if I wasn't getting any cysts on my right side and it was a hormonal problem for my whole body, not just my left ovary, then I should have been getting cysts on the other side, but I never did, or at least I never felt them. So I believe my right ovary doesn't work. And I've come to peace with that. I'm okay with that. I'm okay if I were ever to not have any children. It did bother me at first, but you never know what's going to happen in the future. If I might be able to have children, I might not, and I'm okay with either way that it happens because this is the way I was born, and I accept that. If I'm not going to be able to have kids, then that's just the way my life was. This is the way I was made to live. And if I do have kids, that's how life wants me to live. And that is my polycystic ovarian syndrome story.